Hello and welcome to Talking Bollocks with HMR with John, Anthony and me. Tonight we're going to be talking mostly random crap about the upcoming Mad Max film, which we're hopeful about.
Oh yes.
We're scared about.
Yeah.
A little bit dubious, I would say. Yeah.
So hopes and fears tonight for Mad Max.
What do you reckon? Do you think we should start talking about the original films or about the trailer?
Yeah,
I think we should start with the trailer, then kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So there's been a new trailer for Mad Max. What is it called? Road
Fury Road.
Fury Road. It sounds like something that's in Middlesbrough, doesn't it? Fury Road. Yeah. New trailer that was on at Comic-Con. We've had a quick look at it. It's got Tom Hardy in it as Mad Max. He has still got his Batman voice.
Yeah, well, I think that's his normal voice. Quite fair, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose when you think about it, yeah. So he doesn't say very much in the trailer, but he does look like. Well, he doesn't look like Mad Max, but he looks like how I remembered Mad Max.
Yeah. Well, he looks a bit like Mad Max at the start of the third one.
Yeah, he
With
does
his
a
long
bit.
hair.
Yeah, he does a little bit. Yeah. There's lots of different random vehicles with spikes.
Yep, like all modified, stripped out, you know, how you remember them from the second and the third films. Basically, you got buggies, like dune buggies, you've got old big muscle cars.
Bikes.
No panels, you've got dirt bikes. All with spikes and nettle and guns attached to them. And big, chunky tyres.
So, in the trailer, you've got Max in the last of the V8 Interceptors, mate. He's in that, and he drives off. And it rolls over, which is very similar to the second film.
But
the second film there wasn't that context though, was it? He tried to drive off somewhere just to get away, and they ran him out of the road.
Yeah, the second. Looking at the trailer, it looks like it's going to be heavily based on the second film.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
Yeah,
with
which
the
is
tank
it's a
flamethrower
massive scene involving. Well, it's just like a fight on the road with a tanker, isn't it?
That's what I think. I don't know whether this is like the kind of trying to remake the franchise starting from the second one. You know what I mean?
I mean, it could work.
Or is this like kind of like a follow-on from the originals? You just don't know. I hope it is a remake of the second one, and they go right. We're going to start the films from there. Bring it, revive it. That would be brilliant.
Thunderdome really wasn't very it wasn't like the second. I liked Thunderdome. I did.
Steamy windows.
The second one was a big context. I mean, it had those kids who were in the plane. Were they in the plane? I can't really remember now.
That was the third one.
Was that the third one?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it had the second one. Oh yeah, that's right. Because that's what I was going to say. So the second one was about the fact that there was an oil refinery, and they found the oil refinery, and there was the good people in white. I do always remember.
Yes, which we saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
In fact, it wasn't the good people in white though. It looked like a lot of lasses in very skimpy white outfits.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Australia.
They're the good people.
But they were in an oil refinery which they barricaded, and there was other guys who wanted the oil refinery, so they were going to kill them all basically. They came up with a plan, which, I mean, yeah, okay, spoilers, but it's Mad Max, you should have seen it by now.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, then you're a retard, sorry.
So they basically came up with this plan, which they had a tanker in the oil refinery, but they didn't have anything to drive it.
Yeah, they didn't have the unit.
And Max knew where there was one, so he said, give me fuel for my interceptor, fill it, and I'll go and get you a rig.
Yeah.
And then you let me go with my fuel. End of. So he goes and gets the rig. He brings it in, there's a bit of a battle on the way in, breaks apart the rig. They say, right, okay, there's your fuel, after a bit of an argument, because they're like, we want you to drive the rig, and he's like, no, I don't want to do it.
I just want to go.
Yeah, he just said, I just want to honour our deal. We made a deal, give me my fuel and I'll go, and that's it. And they're like, eventually they go, yeah, okay, fair enough. He fucks off, and they run his car off the road and wreck it.
And kill his dog.
And they kill his dog.
It was the kill. I don't think he was really too bothered about the car. It was they killed his dog.
Yeah.
That was it. Shit's gone down, and shit's now real.
And then the gyrocopter captain finds him.
Yeah.
And takes him back. I remember in the second one there was that one scene, which again, I mean, we were talking about things that have gone on to other TV and films and games. There was that thing. There was the dog sat in the back of the car with a shotgun.
Yeah, it's
It has a bone
attached
in
to
its
a
mouth.
bone.
And the guy's like there, and there's a shotgun pointed at him, and the dog's
Yeah.
got like there's a bit of wire or something attached to the trigger, and it's got a bone in his mouth. So if he moves, it'll set off the shotgun, and they go past a hare.
Yeah, you see
and
a
the
hare
dog's
run.
like walking, like watching the hare, and this guy's like that. But I love that. I thought that was a brilliant scene. Yeah. So the gyrocopter cop takes him back, and they come up with this plan, which basically he runs the rig, which everybody thinks is obviously full of fuel.
Yeah.
And everybody else goes out in a school bus and some random cars.
Yeah.
And they belt off. And
Well, there's a couple of cars go with the rig as like an escort to say, look,
Yeah.
this is important.
Yeah.
So they set off with this rig, and all of the nasties who want fuel, like some of them going to the refinery. Do they do something at the refinery?
They
Blow
blow
it,
up.
yeah.
So they go after the rig, and eventually they run the rig off the road, which you were always expecting it to do. And as it turns over, you see it's full of sand, and all of the gasoline was in the
Yeah.
fans all along, and all
And
this sort of shit.
Yeah, and that's like the
It's
whole thing where, like, you've got your hero who's he's
He's an anti-hero.
he's a bit of an anti-hero because he's just out for himself.
Mm-hmm.
But then he meets these people who are the good guys, and they start to bring him round to do the right thing and do what's right, and they fuck him over.
Yeah.
And like,
Do you know what it is? Yeah.
that's the twist. He's like, the entire film is him being convinced to do good and do the right thing, and he gets betrayed because of it. And like, that's like the big like twist at the end.
There's the bit with the little feral kid as well, which I thought was very good, because obviously if you're in a post-apocalyptic world,
Yeah.
you're not going to have schools and stuff, and this little feral kid who has a boomerang and chops some guy's
Yeah.
fingers
The
off with it.
steel boomerang.
I thought that was I just thought the whole character of that was awesome.
I've got nah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
all point and laugh. Point and laugh.
But the feral kid ends up with Max, doesn't he?
Yeah, he hides in the rig with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he ends up on the rig with Max. Should we talk about how Mad Max became Mad Max?
Right,
For people
so-
who haven't seen it, who should have seen it, but
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
A lot of people haven't
it-
seen the first one though, because it's one of those. It's a cult film, really. To be
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. It was a very low budget film. I mean, there were a group of students.
Were they?
Yeah, it was a group of
Yeah.
students. The editor in one of the dads. I can't remember the names of the creators. But one of their dads built like an editing machine, and they edited it like in the bedroom.
Really?
They used the
Um,
same cars, kept up in it.
Yeah, they kept repainting
Yeah.
the cars. They just got a bunch of unknowns.
hmm I do know a story about how Mel Gibson got cast as Max.
And something to do with he had been in a fight, and his
The-
face was all.
They cast somebody for the role of Mad Max, and they started filming, and I don't think they'd actually started filming or whatever. And Mel Gibson at the time, obviously it's in Australia because he's Australian.
Is he?
Sorry, it's an Australian. It's an Australian film, is what I was meaning. All the films were Australian.
And he's Australian.
I think he is. Is he Australian? I don't know, maybe. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. Anyway, so yeah, they started the film to do these films, and Mel Gibson was working as a runner, so he was bringing the script into where they were filming, and he'd been in a fight the night before, and he was all bruised, and his nose was broken, and all this sort of stuff. And the guy said, right, the guy who we cast as Max isn't Max anymore. We want him. I mean, he was an actor before Mad Max. He had done roles, but he hadn't done anything like major.
But anyway, how he becomes Mad Max is he's Max. I can never remember his surname. He's
He's a copper, isn't he?
yeah, Max Kaczynski or something like that. Rokaczynski or something like that. It's set in like the start of like this apocalypse. You don't get the impression of like a big nuclear war, but it's like
There isn't a nuclear war at the beginning.
it's
The first one.
it's like so yeah.
Isn't it the first one? The first one's normal.
It's like social breakdown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Orders
It's
breaking
It's
down.
like
Yeah,
it starts
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a sort of like dystopia idea, and so they're like cops chasing people like on like the like Australian way, is it Northern Territories or something?
Is the first one called the Road Warrior? Is
That's the second one.
Is that the second
Road
one?
Warrior, yeah.
So what was the first one? Just Mad
Mad
Max.
Mad Max.
And so he's a copper doing his job, he's the interceptor in the races, in the chases.
Mhm.
You've got pursuit cars, you've got interceptors, and Max is like the best. But he, like this gang that come in, this biker gang come in, and they just start fucking things up. And
Was it not like at the beginning of the first film?
they
chase
had,
somebody and they run him off the road and they kill him.
yeah,
And he's part of the gang that comes
yeah,
back, isn't he?
yeah, because he was in prison. He broke out of prison, stole a police car, and then
Mhm.
he dies in a crash. And he was
Max kills him.
yeah, he was the Knight Rider,
That's right.
because
Yeah.
they all had names,
Mhm.
and he was the Knight Rider. And so the gang roll into town and they start like killing everyone involved really. And I think Max, he's trying to get away. He's leaving the force.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He leaving the force and him
Yeah.
and his wife and his
Go on,
kid.
his
He's
wife
going
and
away
his
on
kid,
holiday.
Yeah. And
And they go to a farm or something, don't they?
yeah, he's one of his mates in the police gets like burned.
That's
Just
right.
figured
Yeah,
it
that
out.
bit's horrible, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, because they run him off the road, and then he gets a truck, and then they run that they get that off the road, and they burn him, and then Max is like, right, I want nothing to do with this. Like he's like he's trying to walk away from it all, and then they kill his wife and kid.
Mhm. It's a horrific scene.
Oh
isn't
no,
it?
no, they hang his dog. He's got a little like Irish setter thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Type dog, and they hang that, the kid, and then they
They
run
run-
over his wife and kid
They
with the
run over-
motorbikes.
Yeah.
And this is when he becomes Mad Max.
They run him over as well, don't they? They run over his leg and smash his knee.
Yes, yeah, they run him over. They run over his arm.
And his arm. That's right.
I think does he get shot in the leg
Maybe.
or something?
Aye, maybe it's that way around.
And then he starts chasing them down
Mhm.
and just killing them all one by one.
There's
in
that
his- in his
scene where
car.
there's the lad in the car. He runs the lad, like one of the gang, off the road in the car, and it's upside down. And he's like, right, you can. Does he give him a hacksaw or something at some point? Does he not?
Yeah, because he's the young one.
Uh huh.
Who he got out at the start of the thing because they captured him and he got out with his lawyer, and he was the one who burned his mate Goose
That's right.
in the car, and then he's the last one left, and
Max he runs him off the road.
Yeah,
and
he
handcuffs him or something, doesn't he?
no he finds him because there's a car being run off the road and he finds him and he's like stealing the guy's boots and stuff. And he's like, oh no, I've just come in, this wasn't me. And so then he sets up, there's a leak in fuel in that, and he
puts a light.
gets a light on and starts collecting the fuel, and then he handcuffs his ankle to the car,
Uh huh. And gives
and
him a hacksaw.
he sets it up so it's going to blow up in about 10 minutes. Is it 10 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says, the metal in these handcuffs is like
It's high speed steel and you can't take
It-
too long to cut
Yeah,
through.
it'll take 15 or 10-15 minutes to cut through, but if you're lucky you can hack through your ankle in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he just walks off and leaves him with this bloke screaming, no, you can't do this.
And it just blows up anyway. doesn't it?
Yeah, and then
He was never getting out.
It's just him driving off with this explosion in the background, and that's how it ends.
And
He's
then,
had his revenge
yeah,
by killing a lot of people, and he's lost everything. And
he's Mad Max now.
yeah,
But then it's like the second film starts. I can't even remember how the second film starts. to be
very
honest.
post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's like at the very start of the second film, there's like this little intro which is proper low budget. It's like a little square in the middle of the screen, and I always thought it looked pretty awesome. And so there has been a nuclear apocalypse. Yeah. And it's just wiped out the world, and everybody is now after fuel or gasoline, and water, and food and stuff like that, and everything's changed.
Everything's completely changed. I mean, the imagery in this film, it's like inspired so many things. I mean, if you've seen like the Fallout games, like they're just heavily inspired by like stuff like this. I mean, there's even like direct references to it and stuff. Like everything's scavenged, everything's all patched up, everything's welded together, just made to work, stripped down, whatever. And including Max in his car and
His shirt.
yeah,
and
his jacket which has only got one sleeve, his shotgun which doesn't have any ammo. Okay.
So we've talked about the second film a little bit, and we are pressing on for time for this one because we're running through it.
So the new one.
Well, the third one.
Third one,
Third one.
Thunderdome, starring
liked it.
Tina Turner.
Oh, get over it, man.
Oh, it's shit. It's a
It's
crap.
no
I
shit.
thought
I
it was
liked
terrible.
it.
It starts to go a bit more I don't know, 80s style, you know.
They have a bit of a saxophone moment at one point, don't they? Yeah, I like Thunderdome.
I didn't like it.
But it's got a good concept, and it's a concept that would have worked in that scenario. The fact that they've got this town which is run by somebody who is basically a warlord, and they have to give skills to get things. I like that. And I mean, the story itself is not immense. I like the Thunderdome concept, the actual Thunderdome. Everything's worked out in the Thunderdome. As I was saying before, you've got that thing with the kids with the aeroplane, which I thought was very hard hitting. The fact that the plane went down and the adults left the kids and said we'll come back, and they were never going to come back, and they didn't understand anything. So like they'd grown up with all this technology, and they must have had a radio transmission, and they'd memorized it.
Yeah,
and it was all about that.
It's almost like they've created like a religion type thing.
And they had the Master Blaster thing, which was interesting. I didn't particularly like that very much, but it was interesting. And then again, Max gets fucked over, and they send him off, and they're like, well, if you do this for me, you will get a free pass and you'll have whatever you want and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So he does it and kills this bloke, even though he shouldn't. Oh no, he doesn't kill him.
He doesn't. That's what. Because like she wants him out of the way because it's a power struggle, and then he spares him, and then he gets killed anyway. But it's the fact that he didn't do it. So she's like, he broke the deal. He broke our deal that we had.
Break the deal, face the wheel.
Spin the wheel or whatever. Spin the wheel or.
So they send him off. That's when he finds the kids, and they go back again. There's a good scene in that I like where there's a guy when they're first going in. There's a guy who's like, "Hey, you want to buy some water?" And he runs the Geiger counter over it. He's like, "Fresh H2O, no radiation here, mate." He runs the thing over it, and it like goes off the scale, and he's like, "What's a little fallout here?" I like that bit. And then the bit where he first goes into Bartertown, and they're like stood at the door, and he's like, "Right, weapons stay at the door," and he's just like, and you've just got like everything, and you're just like, that's so Fallout that though, isn't it? You've just got everything on you.
So I think they tried to do that in the third Pirates of the Caribbean film.
It didn't work.
It didn't work as well.
They did it. It didn't work.
Like they were like, oh yeah, it's funny because it was like a lass who had it, and it didn't really work though.
And there's a closing scene as well, where there's Max, some other guy, and a kid, and there's somebody else as well. I can't really remember. And they fly off in the plane, and they said like, because they said like the people will leave the lights on for you, and at the end of the film, it's them, the young kids telling the story of Max.
Yeah.
And because like the ending, like they've got a voiceover in them saying, "No, we left the lights on for him because we wanted him to come home because Max doesn't get on the Max doesn't get on the plane."
Yeah.
Because there's not enough runway.
There's not enough runway for the weight, and you just see this plane flying through the remains of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and I was just like, I really like that. So all in all, I like the films. Do you want to talk about the new one quickly?
What I was quickly going to mention before we as we close in is that in the trailer you've got scenes where there's a guy tied at the front of the
very much like,
and I was like, yeah, that's why I'm like hinting towards it might be a remake of the second. Also the truck. Obviously you've got the V8 Interceptor, Champion, and there's just like loads of little bits, like including like the vehicles themselves. One of them has a mask, puts a mask on. You're like,
that's right. Yeah.
And I was like,
had a mask on.
I was expecting to get like a loudspeaker out and pull out a python with an ACOG scope.
I can't remember his name now. I'm sure
Magnus or something like that.
Has he got like a Roman sounding name?
Yeah, Magnus or something stupid like that, but he's just like a mental case.
Yeah, he's also supposed to be like this charismatic leader though as well, isn't he?
Yeah, probably through his own people, And so that's why I'm kind of hinting towards that it might be a remake of the second.
I mean,
we start the franchise again.
We did think originally that it might have just been a fourth film. But
with all these little bits in that.
Yeah,
you're right.
But like after watching the trailer, if it was a fourth film and not a remake, I'd say that it was a really lazy fourth film.
Yeah, I agree. So what are your impressions then?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it can be good. It's got potential.
Yeah,
I agree.
Depending on what they bill it as.
If you bill it as a remake, it's got brilliant potential. and it could be a really good rejuvenation of a favourite genre. You know what I mean?
I mean, look at the films that they made of the new Dark Knight films. Regardless of what you actually say about the films, they were very well filmed. They were well written. They were well acted. I mean, there were issues in them that I didn't like, but you know, it was unanimously said that they were very good films.
Oh yeah.
This could be another trilogy.
Yeah, it could be. I hope it is. To be honest, it'll be a very good take on the thing.
I mean, if it is another trilogy and it started from the second one, like they could take it further.
Yeah.
Did you also notice that the writer of this film is the same writer who wrote the first 3 Mad Max films?
No, I didn't.
Same guy.
So it might be him wanting to redo it.
Could be.
And that's where we'll leave it, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube page, follow us on Instagram. We're everywhere. And yeah, take it all easy. See you all later.